she's getting a copy. I want to thank Pete, Lauren, Johnson. See you tomorrow. Be kind to one another. Bye-bye.
WCVB Newscenter 5 at 4 starts right now.
Now at 4, the entire state of Massachusetts under a tornado watch as Tropical Storm Isisas churns over the Northeast. That watch not set to expire until 9 o'clock tonight.
And let's take you live right now to Leicester. Tree came down on a power lines and a truck. No injuries reported at this time, but powerful winds already leading to thousands of power outages, mostly in the western part of the state right now. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ed Harding. Ben is off this afternoon.
I'm Emily Reamer. Sorry, Ed. The impacts from this system down the East Coast, they are significant from New Jersey to Virginia and South Carolina. Take a look at these images in Bertie County, North Carolina. At least 2 people are dead and 2 children are missing after a tornado leveled homes there. More than a dozen others are hurt. And flooding in Pennsylvania. Torrential downpours trapping people in Belmont Hills. There have been a number of rescues in the Philadelphia suburb.
This afternoon, we have live team coverage on the impacts here from central Massachusetts to the south coast. Let's begin with Star Team 5's Mike Walkham. All right, Walk, what's the big picture?
Well, the big picture is we have this tornado watch. You know, you saw all that damage down the Carolinas. That's why we're so concerned about tornadoes. This watch box was issued about lunchtime today. It goes until 9 o'clock tonight. In here, we've had a number of tornado warnings, although at this point, we've kind of settled things back a little bit. No tornado warnings at this point. And you can see how we're actually starting to lift a lot of this north of Springfield. It's all wrapping around the main system well off to our west. But we're also starting to see a band of showers and thunderstorms from Manchester up through Nashua. Then you look from Leominster down right along 495. Nothing has really gotten inside of 495 just yet. However, travel this area from Worcester down into Connecticut and Rhode Island and go offshore. And look at this area here. Now, this is the strongest stuff that we're seeing, and this extends all the way offshore. This is the most powerful part of the storm that we have at this point. It's a long area that extends well offshore, and even over the Cape and the islands, you're going to see this area pivoting up as we head through the evening hours. So here's what's happening right now. I put a tracker on this just to give you an idea. It's moving at over 50 miles an hour. It would be into Boston probably within the next hour. So we're going to keep a very close eye on this cell to see if we get any additional warnings out of that. So this area will kind of lift its way through. The center of the storm is back here, but that's pivoting its way around, and that's what's going to produce that possibly some severe weather as we head through the evening hours. Of course, the center is off to our west. It continues to track its way off to the north. And for more on that, we switch over to meteorologist Kellyanne Chickalese.
Yes, keeping a very close eye on the track. It's incredible how quick this is moving. So with the latest update, we are seeing that it's passing our area as we move toward this evening. And what we're going to see here is that wind continue to increase in strength as we move throughout the next few hours. So here's a look at what's going on currently with our wind. And you can see we're seeing gusts over 40 miles per hour moving out toward Worcester, 45 miles per hour in Providence area, and closer to 50 miles per hour as you move down into southern Connecticut. So things are really starting to take shape. We're starting to see the impact of this tropical storm as it is moving northward. The wind gust forecast progresses northward. So notice that wind primarily out of the south, even southeast direction tonight continues, and it strengthens as we travel toward late tonight. Look at 9 o'clock. We're seeing a lot of that wind stretching northward. Beyond that, it is going to weaken. But with this kind of wind in place, we're talking about power outages. Lucky for us, though, any kind of flooding rainfall mainly staying out to our north and west. Ed.
All right, Kellyanne, thank you. Let's get you outside. We're seeing reports of damage all across the state. We start with Newscenter 5's Josh Brogadier. He's live in Leicester right now. Josh?
Ed, it's a huge tree, and it came down on not just one, but 2 vehicles belonging to a firefighter. You can see it's right there. They took the huge tree off that truck, but the truck does remain for now. Now, the power lines were on fire along Mulberry Street when we first arrived here. Jonathan Plant says he and his son were working a construction project, rebuilding a walkway to an outdoor altar at the time, when they heard the loud crack before 2 o'clock this afternoon. Then he went up to the road to see what happened.
We heard a crack, and you turn around, and you very slowly watched it come down. And I went, well, there goes the pickup truck. And then when the base of the tree came down, I went, well, there goes the Denali.
And he's glad both vehicles are insured and that no one was hurt. And he says it was definitely a rotted out old tree. It really wasn't all that windy at the time. Let me set the stage for a moment. There was just huge bands of rain and wind that came through. But as you can see right now, hardly anything. I think that's going to be typical for what we see throughout the afternoon in central Massachusetts. We're live in Leicester. Josh Brogadier, WCVB Newscenter 5.
Okay, Josh, thank you. From Leicester to the south coast, Storm Team 5's AJ Burnett live in New Bedford at the hurricane barrier to continue our coverage. AJ.
A lot of clouds outside so far. We're actually seeing a little bit of dim sunshine starting to filter through the clouds. The wind has been the big story out here. Take a look behind me. This is New Bedford Harbor, shares a harbor with Fairhaven, and out beyond that, I don't know if you can see out toward that lighthouse there, that is part of the hurricane barrier, which remains open right now. There's a large section that allows boat traffic to come in and out of the harbor. They have kept that open for the time being. The winds so far, again, have been the major story. We have not had any rain yet, but they just issued a special weather statement, a marine statement for the waters just to our south right now. By the way, you are looking south that way. They just issued that statement saying that there will be some squalls coming through the area within the next hour, hour and a half or so. Any one of those could produce some water spouts over the water as well. And of course, once those work inland, if they do, those could become tornadoes. So it's something we're going to be very, very careful about here in New Bedford. But in the meantime, it's just been the wind really ramping up. Come on over here. We've got the car rigged up here with the anemometer. We've peaked at 38 miles per hour here. That's our peak wind gust. But we've been averaging above 20, 25, touching 30 at times. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And the wind is just projected to get worse here over the next couple of hours before it starts getting better later on tonight. Live in New Bedford, meteorologist AJ Burnett, WCVB News Center 5.
All right, be safe, AJ. Thank you. Cancellations for some ferries because of the weather. Highline Cruises canceling at least 2 trips this evening to and from Martha's Vineyard. There's concern because of powerful winds and unsafe travel conditions. We will continue to track the impacts of Isisas throughout the evening and into tomorrow morning. Make sure that your phone is charged up and download the WCVB app so you can always stay connected.
4:06 in the afternoon. Let's take a look at traffic right now. The Zakin-Barker Hill Bridge right in the heart of town is fine, although the feeder roads on the side you see are beginning to back up. We'll check drive times. 93 northbound Boston at 128. It's a clean ride all the way out of the city up to 128. We're talking 12 minutes and you're there. Route 1 northbound from the curves to Peabody. It's slow at the start. We're talking almost 20 minutes to do that. You're about 38 miles an hour for average. We can still see the city skyline and the gas tank clearly. Traffic in the foreground is heading down toward the split. Seems to be moving at the speed limit. A little slow once you get to the split itself, where we're talking a 20-minute ride expressway south Boston down to the Braintree split. The Pike in both directions right now. It's got a little volume. The emphasis on the little, and they're moving at the speed limit. 11 minutes from the heart of town right out to 128. That's a good ride. That's the traffic looks like right now at 4:07 in the afternoon.
Breaking news overseas, a massive blast in the capital of Lebanon. Several people killed and hundreds more injured in Beirut. That explosion sending a shockwave through the city of Beirut. News Center 5's Erica Tarantel here with the details. Erica.
Yeah, Emily, information coming out of the city slowly and the numbers changing minute by minute. In fact, we just got an update. At least 50 people now killed, thousands hurt in that huge explosion in Beirut's port area. Take a look. I mean, truly stunning to see. A fire could be seen burning before that terrifying blast and the shock wave, that white that you see there. Reuters reporting sources say there are warehouses in the port area that may contain explosives or chemicals. The chief of Lebanese General Security saying highly explosive material had been confiscated from a ship a little while back and was being stored at the port, but it's still not exactly clear what led up to the explosion. The magnitude of the blast shattered windows of entire buildings. It brought down balconies. Cars were seen completely overturned. The governor describing it by saying, quote, Beirut is a devastated city. Lebanese Red Cross officials say bodies are still under rubble and hospitals are just overwhelmed. The blast could actually be heard and felt as far away as Cyprus. That's more than 180 miles across the Mediterranean. We'll bring you any key developments as we get them. Ed, back to you.
All right, Erica, thank you. Right now, a Lawrence police officer is recovering after being struck and pinned by a vehicle. The officer suffered serious but non-life-threatening injuries and was airlifted to a Boston hospital for surgery. It happened just before midnight as police responded to a breaking and then entering report. A second officer opened fire on the suspect's vehicle after the crash. Elisa Mule and Fernandez Pagan has been arrested. Police are looking for a second person in that. Ahead at 4:30, witnesses described the chaos as it unfolded overnight.
A woman is charged with murder in a deadly stabbing in Roxbury. 38-year-old Mary Fox was arrested this morning. Police say she stabbed a man to death in the area of 1024 Mass Ave. It happened around midnight. Boston police are asking for the public to come forward with any information about circumstances.
We have just gotten the most recent COVID numbers for the impact here in Massachusetts. To take a look at the daily report, has just been released, and there are significant increases in the number of cases, although the number of deaths, although one is too many, is sitting at 9 right now. There are 438 new cases. That's significantly higher than we have seen. It's unclear if those are connected again to that hospital group backlog, but 438 more people have tested positive. The total is over 111,000. The death toll is under 8,500. Again, focusing on a key indicator, the positive test rate. The 7-day average standing now at roughly 2.2%. It is a tick over that 2% threshold that we've been hovering around for the last several weeks, but it still remains down 93% since April 15th. State leaders here in Massachusetts are working to keep the progress going against the coronavirus. Governor Baker stressing cooperation after he says we have been slipping. Newscenter Vice Political Reporter Sharman Cicchetti is live in Bedford right now, where Sharman, the governor toured the MedFlight headquarters.
That's right. We're outside Boston MedFlight, where the governor was today. He did warn that the state may have to roll back reopening if, in fact, COVID cases keep creeping up. The governor visited MedFlight here in Bedford to highlight the work the agency does in helping to fight COVID. He says the numbers of positive cases are slowly moving up in Massachusetts, and he warned the state may have to scale back reopening if it continues.
We've only had a slight uptick from a low of 1.7% to 2%. But we'll be forced to adjust our plans if the data warrants it. That could mean gathering sizes could be reduced, or we could make some of our business regulations more strict.
Now, I asked the governor how the state could make reliable decisions on reopening schools with still seeing so many delays in test results. He says the state is looking at rapid mobile testing for schools, but didn't go into detail and said that could come in a few days. The governor also says it's under active discussion as to whether or not to add Rhode Island to the list of states where people would have to quarantine. We're live in Bedford. Sharman Cicchetti, WCVB News Center 5.
All right, Sharman, thank you. As expected, the coronavirus taking a bite out of Halloween. Things will look a lot different in Salem this year. Most of the official haunted happenings, including the Grand Parade, are being canceled. As for Halloween night, the city says it is evaluating the best course of action. Salem usually has more than 500,000 visitors to the city in October. We have a full list of the canceled events in Salem on WCVB.com. New York City's top health expert resigning.
Her criticism of the city's leadership over the COVID pandemic, plus children expressing COVID anxiety through artwork. The warning signs for parents and what you can do to help. Mark?
Well, the strongest cells I'm watching right now, and they're very powerful, from Providence down to Newport. They're lifting their way to the north at over 50 miles per hour. They have some downpours with them, very powerful storms, and there's still energy offshore. So areas that have not seen thunderstorms yet, you're going to be getting over the next hour or so. I'll have the detailed tracking and timeline of those moving through in just a few moments.
Closed caption funding provided by National Floors Direct.
At National Floors Direct, you can get a whole room of carpet for just $333. Get as many rooms as you want, no hidden extras, and no interest for 1 full year. Call National Floors Direct at 888-400-FLOOR.
Storm Team 5, tracking Isisas, Boston's most experienced, most accurate team of meteorologists monitoring the storm's path around the clock, on air and on the WCVB app. For the latest on Isisas, stay with Storm Team 5, Boston's news leader.